What motivated you to work with Leaders of Evolution?
To help craft the future leaders of our country and the future leaders of the world. What I've seen growing up and being involved in the world of sports, people that are involved in competition and understand the 360-degree view of life usually are successful in whatever they do and help the communities in which they live. And what I know about leaders right now, that is a focal point of delivery.
And you touched on it a little bit but why is that important to you to craft leaders?
Well, we can just see what we're going through as a global village, and I truly believe that. I've been lucky enough to travel around the world, and we might believe we're different, but we're the same. And I think competition and education, leadership, the three key points for me are leadership, trust, and teamwork. And I look for organizations now that I don't work for one big shield, a pro shield that I have in the major leagues. I look for individuals and entities that are talking about teamwork, leadership, and trust. And that is definitely what Leaders stands for.
Well, that was my next question. I was going to ask how you envision executing your role here at Leaders of Evolution and how your experience will help you execute that role. So, if you would like to talk a little bit about moving into that.
First and foremost, one needs to be educated. And I'm in elementary school right now, and in talking with John and Damian and Rick Burton and yourself today, you need to have an educational base. You can't be in a mode to be ahead of yourself. In today's world, ready, fire, aim doesn't work. So I'm in an educational mode right now to know as much as I can about the company, to bring whatever experiences I've had here in North American sport, both in the pros and college and amateur sport, and then create traction for the company in telling the story of what Leaders of Evolution is all about.
Thank you. What was appealing to you about the market opportunity with pro sports and education? Because you said education is such an important base to have.
What I've seen, and having been in the business since the 70s, that would be the 1970s, Emma, not the 1870s, just to put things in perspective. Um, it's the fact that involvement in a community, as we see now in the social discourse in the United States and in many other markets around the world, a lot of that to this point has been nothing more than cosmetics, where a team or an entity would say, hey, we've made a donation to this club or that educational institution. That is not the definition of a long-term strategic program that pays dividends for years and for decades. And so what I've seen here and what we've had in our early conversations is to talk about strategy and not cosmetic tactics, not something that looks good for a day or a week, but can last much longer. And since we're talking about living, breathing humans, they have their own challenges on a daily basis. And wherever we can help them grow as leaders, as people that understand teamwork, and that have trust in each other, then we will have been providing a very positive point of education.
Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate that answer, and I appreciate you allowing me to interview you. My final question is if you have any additional insight, you clearly you have a lot to offer to us. So, is there anything else that you feel you would like to bring up about your opportunity with Leaders of Evolution?
In today's world, there's so much challenge, and we were just talking earlier about the mental challenges. It's not just physical in COVID-19 or how we're living on Main Street to Madison Avenue. It's how are we living with ourselves? How are we making sure that being in a different mode doesn't affect negatively in our thought process and how we socialize. Now, that is a huge challenge for many entities. If we can help, and I believe we can, in marrying the whole level of the competitive nature of sports, in the teamwork, leadership, and trust that athletes at all levels, and you don't have to be a 4-year college scholarship recipient or a pro, but as long as you're out there competing and knowing what it feels like to win, more importantly, what it feels like to lose and get back up again and get back into the fray, then we've got a level of opportunity that literally is globally.